Welcome to another episode of Galactic Ambassadors Podcast. My name is Julia Balaz, and today I'm joined by Tara, who is joining us from Ontario, Canada. Welcome, Tara. Good to see you here.
Good to see you too. Thank you so much.
Our Galactic Ambassadors Podcast is dedicated to the graduates of the Quantum Soul Guidance Practitioner program. But you, Tara, are not only now certified as a Galactic Astrology Soul Reader, but you're also a holistic healing educator and intuitive medium. I'm so curious to learn about your journey kind of before you started fully diving into your intuitive abilities, psychic exploration, working on this end of the pole versus when you worked full time as a nurse. I would love to hear
Yeah.
more about that. Where would you like to start with your before and after journey?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. The course was beautiful. I was so divinely called to it, and I just want to throw that out there. So this started, if I go back to the beginning, um, I had some, I can go back to when I was maybe 4 years old, and I remember having soul memories or an awareness of my consciousness. And
Wow.
I was called back to this moment as an adult. And it really felt like I remember, being this child and just feeling like there was something within me that was almost like a separate entity than my human body. So there was this strong sense of awareness. And I was a very intuitive child, you know, and I lived my human experience and went through that. And, I was always called to I was very called to astrology. As a matter of fact, I was introduced to astrology when I was about 10 years old, and I loved it. I, I felt so drawn to it. And back then, in the early 90s, there wasn't any internet. So I was in my room doing natal charts with the do-it-yourself kits. And I was so drawn to that. So, as time went on, I was very drawn to the arts. And I eventually got into nursing. And I started working my nursing career starting in about 2008. And, I worked in that area for quite some time. But I was always a little bit reserved in the medical system. And with my own health challenges, nothing severe, but I did have to overcome some personal challenges. And I always was pulled into natural medicine. And so that was kind of a big thing for me, and my own personal growth and health journey is where I felt the most success. So, fast forward to the COVID era, right? And that was a time for me that I was very awakened to the truth. And I left my nursing career at that time. It was about 2021. And I was really called to I was called to stand in my truth. And I was called to start looking at health and being of service to people in an empowering way. And it was around that time that, after I had left my career, and I decided to start my own business. And my goal was I really wanted to support people and show people the power that they really have. We all have this innate power within us to connect to what our body can do, which is heal. So at that time, I did some certifications in things I really liked, practical mediums like aromatherapy and herbalism, very attracted to Chinese medicine. And I also I decided to focus in on my intuitive work as well. It was it was the time for me to look at that for more than what it was. It was time for me to really dive into who I was. That shift brought in a lot of, I wouldn't say, it was a very challenging time. I could say that, but it was also such a time of transformation. And so that's when I started Terra Wellness to help support people on their healing journeys and to provide education and support. And not only with the practical mediums that our Mother Gaia gives us with herbs and all our beautiful things that are around us, but also energy and frequency. And I was very called to this information over the last couple of years, intuitively and through downloads. And I was starting to really understand that this shift that was happening in front of us and the frequency shift that we were all going through was also related to, this ability that we are going to be really introduced with around healing ourselves through energy and frequency. Frequency medicine and different forms of energy work, I feel like, and I was told intuitively that it's going to be really hot coming in, within the next decade. And so as you know, we're going through such a beautiful shift. The earth is shifting and we are shifting with her. Right. So yeah, that's kind of how that happened, to make a long story short. But I think most significantly, what started happening in the last 2 years, I would say, is I had an activation. So it started probably the end of 2024. I started having experiences. I started having dreams that were very intense and that were not a normal dream. I was taken into places and given information. And there was certainly an integration period that was a part of this for myself to kind of understand this process. Shortly before that, I was also connecting with my spirit guides, two in particular, that were now really involved in my journey, in my mission to support others. And part of my activation included a lot of very interesting downloads and dreams. And one of them that was really interesting, one morning when I was groggy in my sleep state and I woke up and I heard Andromeda. And at that time, I wasn't overly familiar with what that meant. I had read some information online about star systems, but I actually had to Google that. Like, I was like, okay, what am I hearing? And what is this all about? And some other very interesting downloads that started coming through for me was to turn on my codes. Again, I was like, well, what are the codes? What are we talking about, right? And I was seeing things in dream time around like the emerald tablets and a lot of interesting stuff. And I've begun to understand that this is a part of my soul's blueprint that has now come forward. And the beautiful thing about Galactic Astrology now is it's now this piece that is allowing me to understand myself, but not just that. What I love about my work and supporting other people is this journey of remembering is an essential part of us right now. And for me to be able to support others on their journey and remembering who they really are at a deep soul level is just, it's like a total piece of me. It's just really lights the fire in me, right? To be able to be supportive of that. And I've become aware that this is part of my calling. So yeah, so that's a little bit about me and what has brought me here, really.
Thank you for sharing so openly. And there's so many beautiful paths we can take from everything you've shared. But I just first want to thank you for sharing this beautiful testimony of what is occurring on Earth, these spontaneous awakenings, rememberings, recalls, realizations that you're so much more than the identity that belongs to the family, to the society, to the culture. There is something much, much bigger, cosmic. And I'm so, so grateful that you were guided to Galactic Astrology and happy to hear that it offered additional puzzle pieces and helped you accept and kind of anchor, integrate the greater codes that are helping you step more fully into who you really are and serve with this beautiful passion and fire that I feel inside you. What was it like for you to see those beautiful cosmic alignments in your chart? With your permission, is it all right if I put the chart on the screen just so that our viewers can reflect on what you shared and how it is beautifully reflected in your natal astrology? Were there any stars that surprised you or any that like validated anything? What was that like for you?
Well, at first, when I was starting to look at my chart and starting to understand myself, that was kind of part of my learning process. When I was learning the course, I was using my chart to kind of go back and forth and to learn it for the knowledge of it. And I was looking for Andromeda because I was trying to make sense of why I heard this. What was it that was about Andromeda that was given to me? And I didn't have a lot of Andromeda in my chart, and that's okay because, there's in my relocation chart, there was. But what I came to realize through the course process, actually, not necessarily the alignments, but when I started moving into the soul origin piece, and I was introduced to this blue printer information, I have come to learn, and I don't know if you've heard this as well, but Andromeda is linked. Some people are mentioning or feeling, different channelers, that Andromeda is linked to the blue printer soul origin. So I'm feeling that is most likely the connection with that.
You have trine aspects to Andromeda through your Venus, Venus in Capricorn in 10th house, and your midheaven also is trine Andromeda, as well as Jupiter is opposing also Andromeda galaxy. And I just want to say for the viewers, the trine alignments feel just as potent as conjunctions, but they're more dormant for the time being while you're exploring your human experience. And then whenever your time comes up, where these activations, where these galactic codes of that particular star nation that is trining your natal planet are meant to come alive, it's so easy for them to be unraveled, and it's so easy to access them. They're in your treasure box of your soul. Trines are so potent. So you having three trines there, and again on your MC, and they came alive just when you started stepping into your mission as who you are today, focusing on holistic mediumship and all that. Like, amazing. It's such a beautiful feel.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how, everything is aligned so perfectly with these sequence of events that have been transpiring. But I was just going to mention, I think I haven't looked at my chart for a while, but I'm thinking of just my sun placements with Centaurus and
Alpha Centauri on the Sun conjunction. You were born on Uranus Sun conjunction, almost. It's 29 degrees of Scorpio and you're at 0 degrees of Sagittarius, both conjunct Alpha Centauri, and right now are opposed by transiting Uranus on the Pleiades. So such a potent time for you for that axis of Pleiades, Alpha Centauri.
I was feeling, I feel a connection with the Pleiades, to be honest with you. And one of my prominent spirit guides is also a Pleiadian, which I came to learn later. I was wondering why she looked so Nordic, and then it wasn't until I started educating myself that I started to understand that. So certainly the Pleiadian characteristics and personality, I would say that I've aligned with. But my chart seems to be, I haven't really gone back to it much. I feel like it's kind of like an unfolding that's going to take its time. And so now that I'm practicing with this work with people, I feel like I'm just diving into so many other charts that mine has gone and been on the back burner. But yeah,
that's quite common. It happens. And I also find that whenever there is a time for something important in your own chart to be unlocked, a client will come in with really strong story with whatever they come as a reflection of something that needs to be unraveled in your own being, and it'll just come out into your awareness in its own time. But you have your natal Neptune is conjunct galactic center in Sagittarius in the 9th house. So that's such a beautiful placement for teacher, guide, channeler, medium that you're now fully stepping into. Such a blessing to have that there. You have Jupiter conjunct Shapley attractor. Your Pluto is conjunct Arcturus, both in 7th house. And you spend such a long time as a nurse. I wouldn't be surprised if these beautiful Arcturian energies were just coming through you in assistance with those that you were supporting. And you have Vega conjunct Venus in your 10th house. So also another beautiful, powerful alignment that I would say can indicate that you've spent previous incarnations already studying this type of stuff. So whatever you are exploring in this incarnation, it may feel more like just remembering and reactivating, reintegrating it into current life experience. Would you say that feels more like?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I was the work and all of this that I've been called to was never something that was presented to me. These are modalities and the information and being drawn to spirituality and all of these concepts and what I'm presenting now in my business was never something that was handed to me. It was a part of me, right? So being able to come into that authenticity of myself over the last couple of years has been very comforting, and it feels very natural, which is I guess why I feel so comfortable in it, right? And also, and I think this is important for anybody, when you are on your divine path, you can truly surrender to it because you are being divinely supported at this time. And when you are living in your truth and your inner authenticity, I feel like things align for you the way they are supposed to, because we are all here at this time for a purpose, right? So anybody who is doing this work, and there's obviously so many different genres of healing or being awakened, I should say, that where people are at, but it's also significant is what I'm trying to say with that. And so I've truly surrendered to my purpose, and I've even told my guides, well, if you want this to happen, then let's go. I need some support here, right? And it's been a beautiful thing. It really has.
I would love to bring everything you're saying back to the moment when you were making a decision to leave the nursing career and surrender into the faith that you've just described. Would you mind going back to that moment? What was that like? And I know in Canada, the COVID time was extremely difficult. There was so much pressure put on people, in some countries more than the others. Can you just share a little more? What supported you during that decision? Where did that faith come from? I believe did you already have young children at that time as well? So
I was just coming off a maternity leave. I had just had my one of my children, yeah, and it was a very challenging time. It was a time of uncertainty for me, and me and my family, we didn't know what was going to come of this. We had to sell our house. We ended up moving. There was a lot of turmoil, right? Our life kind of got flipped upside down based on our beliefs and our decisions around what was happening in that time. But that was necessary, right? That time of, there was definitely a bit of a trauma there when I guess when you look at it. That challenge was, I see it now as a beautiful thing, because these things are put in place to divert us or to put us on the path that we are meant to be on. And I wasn't really sure, how this would unfold for me once, I left my career. I really didn't know. And it was a bit of a time of survival, I feel like. And it wasn't until we got a little bit established in our new surroundings that I just said, you know what, this is the time for me to do what I feel like I am meant to do. And that's how I can really explain it. And that time, and that's so typical of many of us, right? When we are meant to shift, then something can something can force us to do that in a sense. And I laugh with people a little bit now because I feel like I say, like, if something hasn't drastically changed in your life over the last 5 years, then you're doing it wrong, right? Because we are being propelled. People who are on this mission or who are here to own their gifts are going to be pushed into their path. So although it was a hard time, I see it as a transformative time and a time of growth, and it put me in where I need to be. And another part of me as well, I can share, is with the mandates and the things that were happening on the medical part of things with, forcing society to, do certain things. That was a hard no. I'm the type of person where I've never really been able to be told what to do. I guess I'm very independent and like to make my own choices and decisions. And so that was a very uncomfortable time for me to feel like I was being forced into decisions that I wasn't comfortable with. So luckily I have that part of my personality that supported me at that time, I guess you can say.
Yeah, well done. During the Quantum Soul Guidance Practitioner course, we have a module there that focuses on limiting beliefs in connection to business growth, expansion, serving people. How did you find those lessons inside that module? Was it something that you were maybe revisiting already, but was there any more little subtle shifts that helped further? How did you like that part of the course, considering that you've gone through such change in terms of career building?
Well, I enjoyed it. I loved it. And I feel like, like I mentioned, I had seen a few different, like, just backtracking a little bit, I had seen, before I came across your course, I had seen a few, tidbits of the galactic astrology information was definitely coming into my reality. But what I loved so much about your course is you get into more of the business aspect. There is guidance around how to support people in a professional way. How do you look at yourself and your own energy and what you are going through or what you have gone through? And are you able to look at that with clarity? Have you done the work on yourself? Have you been able to kind of see yourself as being ready? Because you can only support people with where you're at. Yeah. And that was something that I was very much aware of going into this. So I feel like doing personal work on yourself is always a positive thing. And and I liked your approach to that. I really did. I hope that answered your question. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little bit.
It did. And as someone who already tapped to your own psychic abilities, the mediumship, intuition, there is a module on developing that. Did you find that aligned with what you've already explored and directly experienced? Did it enhance your experience further? How did you like the
I really liked it because having already being intuitive or working on my intuition was fine. There's always so many other avenues that you can explore that may be different from what you've looked at already. So I still very much enjoyed that. And, that intuitive piece actually was very prominent into how I work in my sessions, because I am very intuitive and I look at alignments that I'm feeling called to. And I even with how technical astrology is, I still am pulled to more of this intuitive, emotional place, even when I'm analyzing charts, right? And what I also really liked with the intuitive information and education through your course is working with dowsing. It's something that I had knowledge of, but I wasn't using faithfully in my sessions. And that has really up-leveled my information and that confirmation on the information that comes through for me, especially with the soul records. So
I love to hear that. Thank you. And would you say, because my hope in terms of dowsing protocols inside the course is that it is used as a temporary tool to solidify our trust and faith in how the information comes through. So
yeah,
and more crystallizing what is coming through, and just that once we start fully trusting or recognizing how we are receiving information, we don't necessarily need dowsing anymore.
Yeah,
But for
because you
me,
start to
several
feel it.
years, it was such an amazing stepping stone for building the intuitive connection. Great. I'm
Yeah,
so glad you've enjoyed that too. Amazing. I would love to ask you about your session. What is sessions with clients? What was it like when you first started going through the structure or layout? As I often say, it's like what we offer inside a course. It's a full buffet. There's so many different avenues one can take. I just shared all the potentialities of what I've explored with my clients over the many years. And it was just through natural curiosity, tapping to so many different areas of soul's evolutionary journey. And I encourage every student to, or practitioner then, to just follow that natural curiosity. And whenever they tap to one or the other, they have some guidance and some structure of what's there, how to present it, how to navigate it. So have you noticed a theme or maybe a niche building for you already? Or tell me more about your first experience with guiding Galactic Astrology Soul Reading sessions.
Well, experience is key. Like doing sessions, practicing is key, right? And being comfortable with that sequence. And for me, I started off very simple, like I was taught, like you had taught the course. I started, when I look at a chart, or when I started doing this, when my first few sessions, I would look at the chart and I would kind of just graze the chart. I would kind of see where my eye was pulled to. I would certainly starting to analyze the soul process with Pluto, right? Looking at their oldest incarnations or stories that were very much linked to some of their oldest, timelines, and just moving up from there, just like it was taught, and seeing the significance through the technical aspects and the knowledge through the conjunctions. I think were the biggest aspects and alignments that I would look at first as I was starting this. But I have to say, as time went on, actually, right from the beginning, when I'd go into the soul records, I was blown away every single time. But when I come out of the soul records and I'd look at the chart, it was always a connection. And it was always a confirmation of where I was going in the session, right? So, I would look and analyze and look at their conjunctions. I think the conjunctions and oppositions are kind of what I started looking at in the beginning. I feel like now that I have more sessions under my belt, I can look at much more of the alignments and the relationship between, all the, with everything, all the relationships and through the houses. But the soul records have been the biggest key for me, because it is confirming and really setting the stage of how this session is going to go, right? And so how I've been conducting sessions is I review the chart, but I don't get into too much detail until I go into the soul records. Once I go into the soul records, I go back into the chart. And what's so cool is, Galactic Astrology, I started reading, in the last year or two, information about the galactics and the star systems, and I started educating myself. But this information takes time, right? To be a true expert and to be really knowledgeable is something that I am going to continue to learn every time I do a session, because I'm going to get pulled into a new star system that I might not be overly familiar with. And I want to be able to relay that information and education to my client. So what's so interesting is I would see something in the soul record that I didn't quite understand. And then I would go into the chart, and then boom, now I'm looking at the exact thing, it's showing me right there what I had just seen. So the connections have been beautiful. And I blow myself away when I'm done, because I say, wow, this is a very magical process.
Thank you so much for describing it so beautifully. That is the experience that is the fuel that kept me going. Just that discovery, awe, validation, interconnectedness, and all that you just described. Yeah, it's very time-consuming process, but very rewarding and expansive. And we grow through every single client experience. Beautiful.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
And can you recall some of the clients' feedback, some of the experiences when you shared the galactic connection and the bigger picture of people's stories? Is it very similar experience that we often describe, that they appreciate the missing puzzle pieces? And does any feedback come to mind?
Absolutely. When I first started practicing the Galactic Astrology sessions, I was practicing on a lot of friends, and there was definitely a positive feedback, but not just because they were my friends. They would say, like, holy crap, you actually just validated. I saw this in my meditation and I didn't understand what it was. And there was some really beautiful validation, which, was I was so grateful for. And I have so much gratitude that I can deliver this experience, because I am just so called to be able to support people on their soul journeys. And so the feedback has been beautiful. And the soul records have been, I've been a little bit surprised of how easy that has been coming through for me. A few of my first few sessions, I started receiving downloads of soul records before I even went into the soul records. So that was interesting, but everything has been aligning. And so what that has shown me even at this point is I trust the process. And when I deliver it, it is for the highest good and intention of the person. And I just deliver it. And so far, every session has been very positive and encouraging and validating for them. And when I do my sessions, I work with my higher self and God, and truly for the highest good of myself and them in their ascension and activation. So I can't say anything other than that. Yeah, really, it's been a beautiful thing.
Yeah, what a gift. I'm curious about your intuitive medium connection. When did you align with that, or when did you fully accept that you have a channel that is open? Can you tell me more about the beginnings of it? Because I feel there are so many people that are getting to realizing that it's time for them to embrace how strong their intuition actually is and allow it to be a bigger part of their life. What was that like for you?
Well, the veil is certainly thinning, right? And so you're right. People are they're really coming online to intuitive aspects of themselves. And for me, I think I was always a very emotional and very sensitive child. So it was kind of rooted into who I am. I had an imaginary friend that they thought it was when I was a child, and really it was a child that lived at my grandmother's house that I would play with. That was actually, a spirit. And then just as time went on, I just had a ton of beautiful experiences in my life. I've had, my grandmother who had passed away came on Christmas and walked around in spirit. And I was like, what is happening here? And there was a lot of very, comical. Now that I can look back at it and laugh, because, it's almost bizarre, but I just have this sensitivity to it. And to be honest with you, I'm much more called into supporting people through astrology in that aspect. So when I started doing intuitive medium work and offering that as part of a service, I wouldn't say that it was my passion. It wasn't something I was like really called into, but I know that for people, it is important for them. And it's something that, that people look for, right? And want that type of guidance, right? And that's perfectly okay. And so when in my sessions, I do sometimes receive information from people's loved ones. And so I portray that information or give that information during the session. And the funny thing is the last few sessions I've done in the soul records, I have connected with people's pets as well. So that's kind of come out. That's a new thing for me.
I'm so glad you're mentioning it, because I do believe that with the collective shift, animal kingdom and the elemental kingdom is going to start coming through to us louder than ever before. It'll become much more
Absolutely.
common conversation. So I'm so glad you're experiencing that too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I am. So I've had some interesting animal experiences too, but that's, a whole other conversation.
Mm.
Um, yes, the veil is absolutely thinning and dimensions are showing up for us and different people. And people are really becoming activated to who they really are and what their gifts are. And, you know, speaking of elementals, that has been really coming into my awareness too, and learning and understanding that. And one of my first clients had so much elemental energy. And I was like, okay, here it is, and of course she ended up resonating with it so much. But yeah, elementals are, especially Avalon and all of that, it's really waking up within us.
Brilliant. Well done. In terms of the type of sessions, are you also offering written reports, or you love the one-on-one connection during the live Zoom calls? What style of QHE?
So I am doing virtual live sessions. I have offered some reports for people. I find them a little bit too time consuming. I will do pop-up reports depending on the time of year. February is coming, so I will be doing some pop-up synastry reports, but I will only have a certain amount of spots available for that. But my preference, yes, is I'm doing live one-on-one sessions. And yeah.
Brilliant. Can I ask you, how do you navigate the personal life with two younger or growing children and doing this type of work, asking for moms who are in similar position, in similar shoes, where it may feel like, my goodness, this seems to be time consuming, but you manage to go through the entire course, becoming certified and continuing to have your client sessions. How do you navigate that? How did you find your groove through
It's
the?
funny that you asked that because I don't know if I've ever, well, I think it's just happened so organically. And I'm a very hands-on parent. I did some homeschooling with my children for a time there. And because, I left nursing and now I was home, it gave me the opportunity to be able to focus on my studies. So I feel like that's where that came together for me. But I think it's divine timing too, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're busy and you have things going on in your life, that is all okay. There is no rush to this process. Everybody is going to have their time to move into whatever it is that they are meant to. And, part of being a mother as well, and which I'm so grateful for, is it allows me to be grounded and it allows me to do and live my human experience with my family. There is, it can be very ungrounding for some people when they start to integrate with these new realities that they're learning about themselves and the world. And I think it's very important for people to remember that regardless of everything going on and the awareness that you carry, you are ultimately in control of your life. You are a human. You are having a beautiful human experience, and we need to enjoy that. So I think balance is key. And my children go to school, so it gives me opportunity to be able to do this work during the day. And I have a supportive husband that also supports me in that. So it's worked out beautiful for me, but I mean, it's all about divine timing and balance for everybody, right? So
Excellent. Thank you so much for describing that so beautifully. I too feel so strongly about actually embracing and appreciating the contrast between being so out there with connecting with cosmic energies, but then when I leave this office, it's a very grounded human experience. And I love
absolutely.
that. It's just
Yes.
here now, present, talking about
And
everyday life
sometimes we
experience.
have to do that, right? It's you're not neglecting your spiritual path when
It's
you
so
take breaks,
important. Mm-hmm.
right? Sometimes it's necessary, and I have learned that. I swear, I think I'm a pro at this, where I go so deep and then I get a little off grounded and then I say, okay, I got to pull back in. And if that means watching, a chick flick or, whatever you want that is totally opposite from your spiritual world, then do it, right? Because You were still here. You were still having this experience. You were still in your body, and it's okay to be able to step back and prioritize your needs.
Yeah, it's wonderful to be human and have this full spectrum of how
Absolutely.
we can. I've noticed over time that almost every practitioner seem to have their own attraction point. Some of them love working with animal human connection, other focus on children, family relationships, different dynamics. Have you identified kind of what your ideal client is, or what you're calling into, or do you feel you can reach quite wide range, probably a bit of both, but is there someone who you would love to work with?
I feel like I'm so open to working with anybody who is authentic into, their highest good and intention. This is very personal work, obviously, and so connecting with people who understand that and they have the right intentions to, what these sessions are all about is really what I call in, I would say. And, I've really surrendered to this process, like I've mentioned before. And, I have asked and my guides in the universe to, allow me to connect with people who have the right intentions and who are on their divine path. And most importantly, who I can support, who I can have an impact with and lead them on the right path or support them where they're at. And I actually have an offering on my website. I don't go into too much details about it, but I have decided to also offer like an ascension support where if people feel, if they're on this journey and they're feeling a little ungrounded, or they want to have someone to talk to, because sometimes when people go through personal activations, it can be a little bit lonely, or they may feel they can really go through it, right? And it can be an uncomfortable time for people. So I do offer Ascension Connection, where I am available to support people if they're going through their journeys and know that, they are not alone.
That's such a timely offering. And I hope the right people will get a chance to watch this recording, or just find your website and avail of it, because there is increasing number of these spontaneous activations. And exactly as you said, who can you talk to? Usually the immediate environment is not quite there yet. So
Mm-hmm. The last couple of years for a lot of people have shaken them to the core. And so, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like, you're not alone. You're not alone in this in this time. And I remember when I was receiving a lot of downloads and I went through an intense upgrade. I just was receiving information about the moon and the sun, and I was literally it was a lot. It was uncomfortable, and it took me a little bit of time to come back into myself and to ground out from it. And so I certainly understand what that discomfort is like, and it's okay. And you are safe. Whoever's watching this that might feel uncomfortable, or learning how to navigate these new feelings or information, you were certainly not alone in this, as I mentioned, but you were safe as well. And it's okay to take that back seat and to navigate the process, right?
beautiful. Thank you so much for offering that additional service. Your website is so beautiful, tarawellness.ca, astrology, soul guidance, and healing, welcoming you to your journey. As we are actually closing this year, so we are recording this on the 19th of December, specifically when Three Eye Atlas is the closest to the Earth. I really hope that the energies of the beautiful upgrade and transformation will be captured through this video recording. I'm really grateful we're connecting on this auspicious day. Do you have a closing message, anything that I didn't ask and could have asked? Is there anything else that you would like to share before we slowly wrap up?
I'm not really sure I guess I probably should have thought of this beforehand, but that's just my typical spontaneity.
Go with the flow.
Yeah, and I'm very much trusting in divine intervention around all of this, and to those who feel called to me and to this type of work, that's a wonderful thing, right? So, yeah, I don't really have a whole much to add that I can think of. I'm sure I'll think of something later.
That's all right. I just arrived at your beautiful page and I'm just going to read out one of these testimonials. This one is from Annie. My reading with Tara was one of the most insightful and empowering things I have ever done for myself. Tara, you're such a wise, compassionate, and intuitive soul. Thank you so much. So for anyone watching, if you feel in deep resonance with Tara's energy, please visit the website tarawellness.ca or just go to juliabalaz.com/practitioners and there is a direct link to contact Tara for booking a session. May you have the most amazing, incredible experience as her mediumship, psychic abilities, astrology skills come through for you in support of your journey of expansion and return to your wholeness, remembering who you
Absolutely.
are
Absolutely.
on a multidimensional level. Tara, thank you so much for walking this path with such passion and integrity. It's so wonderful to feel the grounded wisdom that you embody. It's such an honor for me to introduce you to the greater community. May your journey as a quantum soul guidance practitioner continue to be blessed. And I'll look forward to hearing from you in future, however you will feel guided to bring through the information that will come specifically through you as a channel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate everything. Your work is beautiful. And so I can tell that you're very much on your divine path as well. And you've put together a great course. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you all for watching. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Much love to you all. Take care.
Bye bye.